Welcome to the Spa Girls podcast, a self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
I'm Wendy Vella.
And I'm Trudy J. And this week we have the lovely Heather Hildenbrand with us. Hello.
Welcome, Heather.
Hello. I always feel like I'm a bit like I'm on the Muppet Show when I do that because I wave my hands for some reason.
You do look a bit Muppetish, if we're being honest.
We don't want to say anything.
You didn't want to say anything, but now you said it.
Thanks. Glad to know that I'm not going crazy, at least, even if I do look like a Muppet. So Heather is here to talk. Sorry, Heather. Heather is here to talk to us today about mindset and all the amazing stuff that goes around with that. But first, I'm going to read your bio really quickly, and then we're going to get into the juicy part of this interview, which I'm really excited about. So Heather Hildenbrand was born and raised in a small town in Northern Virginia where she was homeschooled through high school, and she promises that she's only slightly socially awkward as a result. She's also an award-winning author who's written more than 50 paranormal, urban fantasy, science fiction, and contemporary romance novels. I don't know how you have the time to write all those different genres, but we can talk about that. And in 2016, her Imitation series was purchased by Warner Brothers and optioned for TV by Jerry Bruckheimer Studios, which is very exciting. Heather also offers business and life coaching to authors and other creatives to create more abundance and attract the life and business they desire. A certified life coach, Reiki master, and public speaker, Heather helps authors understand how to better attract their desires and to heal their wounds in the process.
Love
that. Sounds awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you guys. So we're already having so much fun.
We're
already talking about puppets. And
Yeah.
Fun.
So to get started, let's talk a little bit about how you got into writing and what made you want to become a writer, and then how that kind of became the life coaching end of things as well. Mindset.
Yeah, sure. They are definitely connected. I started writing because something kind of tragic and terrible happened in my life, and I wanted an escape, which is the reason we read, right? But it's like, I guess it was so terrible and tragic reading wasn't enough or something. I don't know. I just got inspired to write a story. So that was it. Like, that was my only outcome at first. And then from there, it just, one thing leads to another. I had a friend that was like, well, what are you going to do with this when you finish it? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, are you going to publish it? And it's like, I hadn't really thought that far ahead. So yeah, it was a lot of like baby steps on this journey. And then I got started with my writing career. I was writing for maybe a couple years and making kind of full-time money, which was blowing my brain. And it was really cool. And then my marriage ended, and that was not cool, not a fun time. So I just had a lot of personal life stuff that happened that made me feel like I really wanted to be better at my life. I wanted to be better.
How long ago was that? Like, where did you start?
Yeah. So I started publishing in 2011. So this would have been like 2011, 12, something like that. And so work was going okay, but everything else was not. And I stumbled upon or had someone recommend to me The Secret. Have you guys ever watched or read? Okay. It's like the gateway, right? For everyone.
Yeah.
So that was the gateway. And it was the first introduction to, wait a minute, I could change how I feel. I'm not just susceptible and like kind of a victim of whatever my feelings are making me feel. And then I just have to like live with it and deal with it. And it was a relief, really. It was like new information, and it was really exciting. Like, if I learned how to do this, I could learn to like feel better, and that would impact my life in a better way. So it was empowering at a time I think I needed it. And so I just also, are you guys into strengths at all? Like Becca Syme's strengths?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously more so than the other two, just quietly.
Me and Shah are the strengths people.
We're all in.
Did you notice my nostrils flare then?
Yeah, we're all in.
Okay. All right. Well, at the time, obviously, I don't know anything about that, but like in hindsight for myself, I'm a high learner. And so I went down the rabbit hole, right? So The Secret, I was like, oh, all this stuff I could learn, I'm in. And so I just went down this huge rabbit hole of all the things about mindset and how our brain is wired and how can we change our thoughts and how can we change our feelings. And I just got really nerdy for a really long time.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you want the short version, that's kind of it. I just got really nerdy for a really long time about mastering, like knowing all the things about this stuff. But I saw results. I saw that I felt better. I improved my quality of life. I improved my mental health. And then externally, my life started improving too. And I was like, oh, it's real. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And so from there, I wanted to use it to keep healing, keep, that tragic thing I told you happened, and then my marriage ending, and I just wanted to keep using it to like improve things. And so I just kind of, I guess, just got sort of better and better at using it to do that, at changing my own thoughts, at discovering that my thoughts and feelings are what drive my own life. And so how can I make them the best they can be to impact my life to be the best it can be? And it worked. And I'm remarried, and he's amazing. And he's 10 years younger than me, so maybe that's why I look so young, you guys said. High five.
Good for you.
So yeah, right. Lots of fun, exciting things, and then it bled over into work, and my career took off even more, and I got that TV movie option, and just really a fun, exciting things. And everything now I can look back and say, for sure, that was because of focusing on my mindset and my own feelings and thoughts. So it was kind of a natural progression, again, down the nerdy rabbit hole, right? And so then it's a sort of a natural progression of like, well, I should put all this knowledge to use. And that's where the coaching kind of came from of, oh, now I get it. I get how to do this. Everyone says you should change your thoughts. You should work on mindset. But the big thing is like, well, how? We're not really taught how to do that. And so me having figured out how through trial and error, I was like, well, this is something the author community especially, and women especially, really need and can really benefit from. And this was already my people. And I was like, well, this is where I go then, to my people.
Yeah. That's awesome, because there is a lot of mindset stuff out there, but it's very general, and it's really awesome that you're doing it specifically for authors, because that's I speak the language. That's awesome. So one of the things I read when I was stalking you on your website is that you talk about alignment. You said it's all about alignment with yourself, within yourself and your life. So can you explain that a bit and just go a bit deeper into that for us?
Yeah. So when I'm coaching, we kind of like start with alignment as the foundation to everything, because alignment with yourself is like how you feel about yourself and how much are you fighting yourself? What is your self-talk like? Are you your own worst enemy in your own mind? If this is the way you show up to your career, to your partnerships, to your friendships, to your life, you're already kind of starting from a negative sort of level, if you want to call it that, right? A negative number. Because if your foundation of alignment with yourself is already off, it's going to make everything else harder. And this comes up for authors a lot, where we sort of make business harder than it has to be. And the author business is hard enough, right? With writing that great, perfect, good book and figuring out marketing and all the external stuff. But if who we're bringing to the table is already feeling like crap about ourselves and talking like crap to ourselves, being mean to ourselves, if we come to the table not believing that we're good enough or smart enough, or that we suck, or that our book isn't worth it, or that no one would want to read our book, so we should just not tell people about it because it's embarrassing when we hear our friends are reading our books. Like, if these things bother us, we're out of alignment with ourselves, and now everything else we do externally is just going to be that much harder. And I really think that's why, and this happens all the time, you see someone whose book is similar to yours, their audience is similar to yours, you're like, what do they have that I don't? And their book is killing it and your book isn't. And it's that comparison thing. And so often I think comparison in that way it comes from when we feel sort of like they're better than us, it comes from us being out of alignment in who we're showing up as to begin with. So that's the alignment pep talk.
That's awesome. Nice. That's fantastic. I've also heard it talked about in terms of being that you shouldn't try and be in competition, and that competition can be seen as a negative thing. And I have a feeling maybe that's to do with alignment as well. Do you feel like that's true? Or
well, because competition in the way you're talking about it sounds a lot like a little bit of jealousy too.
Yeah.
And the only reason we're ever upset that someone else has something is because we're afraid we don't also get to have it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, I think at our heart, we're never, we're all about letting each other have it. The only reason we feel threatened is because we think it means it takes away from us. And that's not about them. That's about us. And do you believe that you are good enough, worthy, and deserving to have that thing? So competition isn't about them. And that's the first thing to realize. And that's why, yeah, it's definitely about alignment. It's still about you.
Yeah. That's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like,
Absolutely.
and you don't think it is. All these things that you think, oh, that's definitely not about me. It's about that other person, and it's always about you, right? Like it's always
Oh my
about
God. So on my list of the 3 biggest mindset tips, I'm just going to tell you right now because it's so appropriate for what you just said. Number 1 is your brain is a liar. Don't trust it.
No. Oh my gosh, right?
So what if go in depth. Tell us a little bit more
Okay,
about
sorry.
why your
Yeah,
brain
I
is
feel
a
like
liar.
I derailed it. Yeah, but it's okay. This is one that we work through in coaching so often because it's maybe the biggest barrier is if you actually believe and listen to this voice in your head. This voice in your head, first of all, it's like we don't let anyone in our normal lives talk to us like this. I hope.
true.
I don't know. Some of us might. Please contact me for coaching, but like hopefully we usually don't. We usually really reserve it for ourselves, which is just terrible. But the first, I think, helpful step for me was realizing none of that stuff is actually true. We talk about gaslighting and we gaslight ourselves. That voice in your brain will say anything it can because it doesn't want you to change. Our brains are wired. This is biology. This is how we are made in our minds. It's wired to see change as a threat and change as bad, right? So it's going to do whatever it can to keep you where you are. So the voice in your head that tells you things like, oh, they're doing better than you, that must mean their book is better than you, and you're probably not as good as them, and it doesn't really matter what you do, this is never going to work, and all that stuff that we battle, that internal self-talk, that voice is a liar. It's not necessarily true just because you think it. And that was also very empowering for me when I learned that, because I was stuck with that voice and I was just believing it. And when you realize that's not you, that's a voice in your head and that is not you and it's not true, that's, I think, the first step in going, oh, well, what would it look like if I could turn it off? And it just really starts to help you think about like doing the mindset work and what would that look like?
And I think sometimes it's even people say, I'm just being realistic. That almost, I find that hard to deal with too,
that's like
because it's like
the enemy of mindset work is being a realist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Okay,
we're surrounded by realists, right?
Yeah.
And they impact us too, doesn't it? The people around
Yeah.
us impact us in our thought process. Yeah.
I always tell people part of mindset work too is like you do have to go through a phase where you're the ostrich and you have to just sort of stick your head in the sand and you have to really, because it's about protecting your headspace. I mean, if you think about mindset and how we got where we are, we've basically just been programmed by the world around us our whole lives to think how we think, right? We weren't born knowing and thinking and having this like negative voice in our head and all this. So it's all programmed in by our parents, our culture, our industry we're in, our friends, our family, and, not on purpose. They're just repeating patterns they learn too, right?
Yeah.
But so you've been thinking this for a really long time, your whole life. It took you this long to get this steady in this terrible toxic like mindset, right? So it's going to take a little while to get out. And also you have to really protect yourself when you're trying to get out and trying to change. So you have to get protective of the content you consume. Content you probably don't realize is impacting you as much as it is. So you almost have to sort of detox or be the ostrich where you purposely go, I'm not going to look at what's real. For a little while, I'm not going to look at what's real, because as long as you look at what's real, that will continue to be real for you. So you do sort of bury your head in the sand and you go, I just tell my clients, like, stop watching the news, first of all. Stop, what content are you consuming? Even social media, especially social media for authors, because you're going to log into Facebook and the first thing you're going to see is somebody in your genre hit it bigger than you. I mean, it's just everywhere. So you really have to unplug. You have to be the ostrich and you have to go, yep, I'm not looking at real life. That's right. I'm just not looking at real life. And people, oh my gosh, but like it's reality or it's news. You should be informed. And you just have to go, nope, nope. People tell you that's irresponsible. You have to be informed. Well, then I'm irresponsible. Like you just have to be willing to do it in the face of, all the realists.
Yeah. Very true. Okay, so let us take a step back because I think we jumped ahead a bit. So which is fine. I'm always happy. But we talked about some of the biggest or the most common mindset issues that you see with your clients, and I think you've got maybe 3 of them to talk through with us. So can we start there?
So first thing I'll say is I work with authors at all levels of career, and these come up for all of us. And I think that's really important because I have a lot of authors that are like, 5 figures. We'll just use money because it's easier, right? Or whatever. And because we put ourselves on a level based on the money and based on what other people are making. And we see people making more and we go, oh, well, they must have it all together then. And they don't worry about this stuff. It's just me, right? And then we make ourselves special, but not in a good way. Like I'm the only one that's a hot mess. So clearly they're all better than me. And now we've done the comparison thing again.
Yeah.
So I always remind my clients, I work with authors at every income level, including 7 figures, and we're all working on the same thing. Everyone. Okay. So no one has it together. And that actually was a really great relief for me. This isn't on my list, but this was such a huge relief for me to find out. You can still be a hot mess and be successsucgive What a relief.
Thank God. Because quite frankly, that's
It's great to know.
Because we give ourselves this belief like, oh, well, when I get my, can I say
Yeah,
go for it.
When I get my shit together, then I'll be rich. Then I'll be successful. Then I'll be a best-selling. Then it will all happen for me. And that already you've given yourself a barrier. And now, because that's your belief, it can't happen until you get your shit together. Well, luckily, you could just change your belief instead and go, actually, I get to be a hot mess and have it all. I don't have to fix this and be perfect before it all comes in. That was a huge relief for me.
You should just move in with me because I'd like to hear all this every day.
I think we can slip into that mindset in every facet of our life, can't we? Because we're often saying to ourselves, after this happens next week or next month or next year's going to be better. And, we just do it, don't we? And I guess this is just
always reaching for more. Right? Like, it's going to be better tomorrow. Or, it's going to be,
but not living in the moment.
Yeah. So we do it about everything. And I tell my clients all the time, how you are with one thing is how you are with everything. So if you struggle with the energy of money, you are struggling with the energy of, this one always ends up being true, actually. How good are you at receiving gifts? Something for nothing. If somebody brought you a gift and gave it to you unexpectedly right now, like Cheryl, if Trudy gave you a gift, what would your thought really be? Would it be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much? Or would it be, shit, I probably should get her something in return, or this feels uncomfortable?
That one for her.
I'd definitely be looking at the why.
Okay, I didn't mean to call you out. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
It's so interesting. It's interesting how you said, I better get her one back, because I always hate when someone gets me a present and I haven't got them one. Worst thing ever. I feel like
I've got a cousin who's always buying me things and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
I had my best friend, she would always get weird if I tried to pay for lunch. She didn't like that. She was like, well, I'll definitely have to get it next time. And she would be really serious about it. And I could tell it made her super uncomfortable. And it's the same concept. So if you want to get better at receiving money, get good at receiving gifts. It's all connected.
It's the same with compliments, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Compliments you. And you're like, I constantly, people say, oh, that's a really nice dress or whatever. And it's so old.
Oh, this old thing got this, and
I've been called out on it so many times. Somebody said, just say thank you. You just have to say thank you.
And then bite your tongue. run away if you have to, you know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, it just bolts. Yeah.
Just bolts. She gave him a compliment. Oh,
But
funny.
she's like, but I'm getting better at it. You know?
Yeah.
So how we are with one thing is how we are with everything. That was the thing that came
Oh.
up when you were talking about that. And then the thing that Wendy said about how we're like, oh, tomorrow it'll be better or whatever. Another one for that is how, yeah, if we always constantly keep it in the future, then it will just remain in the future and it will never be now. And our subconscious mind doesn't understand future. Time is not the same kind of linear thing to our subconscious mind. And your subconscious is where you have to go to change these things. That's where all your beliefs really live. So we have to understand that your subconscious mind works differently than your conscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't understand the future. So it just understands you don't have it now. And if you don't have it now, you'll never have it now. So, and this wasn't on my list either, but if you want to make it happen, start to figure out how you can feel like it's already happening. Bring it into the present.
Yeah.
And actually that will be, so I'll share some tips later, and that'll be, I have a fun game for that one that I think works well.
Oh, we like
So
games.
you asked me though, I'm like so all over the place. Sorry. You asked me the 3 biggest mindset tips. So we'll start there. Okay. The first one is mindset blocks are success blocks. They are the same. And you cannot have more success than you already have right now without doing more mindset work. Because where you're at mentally now with your subconscious and your beliefs and everything, that's what got you where you are. If you want to go somewhere else, you're going to have to think something else. That's the first one.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's funny because it's like, of course, but actually it's not actually what we would put together, if that makes sense. Like we wouldn't always kind of go, that makes sense, but it does. Yeah. So
well, we get stuck in like external behavior, right? So we think, oh, in order to have more success, I probably just need to like post more TikToks or something like that, right? We don't think about actually it's this.
And posting more TikToks or doing more work for a lot of us is actually quite stressful because we're already doing, a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of us think this is it. This is where I am.
Yeah. So part of it has to be shifting your priorities and your understanding about what's actually going to move the needle. And this is hard because we're so programmed with external behavior is what's doing it, right? And that's what gets us on the hamster wheel in the first place. But if we can shift our belief that your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are what create your reality. That's what I believe. That's what I've seen evidence of over and over. And if that's true, then your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are the most important thing. But when you don't spend any time on them and you spend all your time on writing and TikTok and social media and all those things, but it's like, but you're not actually doing the most important thing. So we get stuck in the hamster wheel. We think if I just work harder and do more, but it's really about shifting it to actually, this is the work that matters. And this is the work that's going to actually get you where you want to go. And it's completely contrary to what the rest of the world will tell you. So it's scary. It's scary. And
even if you're someone who doesn't believe in the woo aspect of it, which I totally am on board for, but you can understand that if you change how you're feeling or how you're approaching certain aspects, like if you're writing and it's fun and enjoyable, the writing will come out better versus you writing and it's hard and you're forcing it and or if you're doing TikToks and you're on there and you're talking to the camera and you're feeling good and happy and confident, that you turn up better than if you're feeling a little bit nervous or weird or grumpy or anything, like more negative thoughts. So even if you can turn around your mindset just in terms of how you show up, that has to have
and like, what do you think? There was a study done on the power of expectation. So what do you think the outcome is going to be of this thing that you're doing, writing or TikTok or whatever, and how what you think will happen directly impacts what will happen. And if you want like a non-woo, because I love the science of it too. And I think that different brains, like analytical minds, really need the science. So there was a study done on rats where they split the rats into 2 teams And they assigned a group of scientists to team A and a group of scientists to team B. And they said, tomorrow, these rats are going to race and compete against each other through a maze. And they said, okay. And then they went to only the second group of scientists. And they said, your rats were tested in their IQ, and they're actually dumber than the rats in group A. Your rats are stupid. Please don't expect a lot from them. They're going to do terrible. Just, this is how it's going to go because your rats are stupid. And then everybody went home. I know, Trudy's like, these poor rats. Not the point.
Nobody told them that. It was all right. Nobody was harmed.
No, okay, that's important. Nobody told the rats. Okay, that is important.
Well, it's all right then. I'm fine now. Okay.
So the next day, everybody comes in for the rats to race in this maze. And that was the only thing they did, was told the scientists, your rats are stupid in this group, remember? And the rats in that group did astronomically worse than the rats whose scientists were not told that they were stupid. And it was this whole idea on the outcome, the expected outcome impacting the true outcome. And it wasn't even the rats, it was the scientists, right? And so it was kind of once removed even. And it was so fascinating to me that nonverbal, just belief of expectation as you're observing something happening, because the scientists were just observing. They weren't even doing the effort, right? That impacted the outcome.
So you must be giving off a certain vibe, or, like, not that the rats, that the rats could pick up on or whatever, so that you're like, I don't care about this test.
Right.
Or maybe it was,
think about, like, as humans, we have a lot of nonverbal communication that we get from people. You can tell from body language if somebody likes you or if they're in a bad mood, or so. Yeah, we can call it vibe. There was a vibe, right? But it's all kind of that same thing. Like, vibe would be woo-woo and nonverbal body language would be science, but it's the same thing. And it just shows how powerful something like that really is. So I love that you brought that up, people who aren't as woo, and to me, it's all the same. It's just using different words to describe it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's my second biggest mindset tip, is that your results are determined by your beliefs first and your efforts second.
Okay. I'm writing that down.
So again, it's
we're all writing it
down. So that's just what we've discussed, right? Like, it's just, you just have to, and going into something believing that it's going to be successful is, I think there's that Henry Ford quote that I always love, and in fact I was thinking about it this morning, so this is a weird symmetry thing, but it's like, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And
I love that one.
And it kind of blew my mind when I first heard it, because I was like, what? Years and years ago, but it's that same thing.
Yeah. Totally. And that's why I think it's about that shifting of priority, because it's not that your external efforts are not important or impactful to, like, say, your author business or whatever. It's that if you don't show up in alignment and you don't examine the beliefs you're bringing to the table, those efforts will have way less impact than if you did.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So listen to the silence while we all think about it.
I'm just taking it in.
It made me think about your little note, Wendy, to yourself with the things that you wanted to achieve over the years, and how you ticked them off and got to where you are now because you believed.
Yeah, the only time I've ever done that, in 2007.
Maybe we need to do it again. Cool. Oh my gosh.
Maybe.
So and what's the third one that you had there?
So the third one is the one that I jumped the gun and already said, which is that your brain is a liar.
Yeah. That's the truth, right?
Well, I think it's your brain. You go.
So in our one-on-one coaching, what we do is we start to separate yourself from the voice, because this helps to, like, disassociate that that's not you and it's not true. And so one of the exercises we do is to give this voice its own avatar or character, since we're all authors. And I was just talking to a client earlier before this call, and she was like, I was on this other call with this other group, and I almost shared about my character, and then I thought I would sound crazy, so I didn't. And I thought, I'm going to share it on the podcast then.
So we're gonna make it a thing.
We're gonna make it a thing, so you don't feel crazy. So so I heard it years ago from another course I took, and then I think I also read about it in a book by Martha Beck. So it's not my original idea, but it's helped me a lot, and it helps clients a lot. And that is, again, make your voice its own avatar. So for me, I'll give you mine as an example, and I think you'll understand. So I was raised religious. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church. There was a lot of like, bless your heart and we'll pray for you. Okay. If that gives you any, like the vibe, this is the vibe. Okay. And it was a lot of like rules. And if you break rules, you should just like feel bad about yourself and we're going to judge you and stuff like that. And I'm not saying all Southern Baptists are like that for anybody listening, but mine sure was. Okay. So my avatar, the voice I would hear in my head was that little old lady on like the front row on Sunday morning who just was in like her Sunday best with like her whole extra hat and everything, you know, and she would come up to you and want to know probably all your business, right? And she would disguise the gossip as, okay, well, I just want to know so I can pray for you. And I'm going to activate the prayer chain for you about this. This is real. Okay. If y'all have never been to the South in the US, this is real. And so, but it was always just so judgy feeling and like, ooh, you shouldn't do that. That's wrong. This is against the rules. Be a good girl, whatever. And so, this is whose voice lived in my head rent free. And I decided to name her Pearl.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, I'm sorry to any Pearl out there, but it just fit. Okay. So, so now that Pearl is her own person, her own personality, and her own name, I recognize her in my head so much more easily. And I go, oh, this is just Pearl. I don't agree with her. I don't think like her. I don't share her belief system. I don't believe her.
Yeah.
You know, and it just helped me separate that liar in my head and just not give into it so much. So does anyone know who their Pearl? Do you guys know who your Pearl is yet?
No, but I'm already thinking about Karen.
Yeah.
Because we all know a Karen.
Yeah. It's true.
I feel sorry for all the Karens
I
out there.
It's a
Now I feel sorry
Sharon.
for Pearl.
It's a Sharon who was along with the rest of the 60s babies called Karens. You know, I'm just 2 letters away from being a Karen. So I have a lot of empathy for Karens. The Karen I have in my life is a lovely person who is opposite of a Karen. So just saying.
I know a nice Karen too.
I think when you're talking about that, I had an immediate pushback that I can't separate out the voice from myself, Heather. So how does one do that? Like, I think it's great the idea. I get the concept.
Yeah.
But it sounds like me. It doesn't sound like somebody else.
Well, so if it's a new concept, then it might take a little while. Like I have a lot of clients, I'm like, well, how do you talk to yourself? And I'll ask them like on our first call and they're like, it's not bad. I don't think I talk to myself bad. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, well, I couldn't stop thinking about your question. And now I'm paying attention and it's horrible, you know?
It's true.
So
yeah.
it might like sneak up on you in a couple weeks and you're going to be like, oh, or don't worry about separating it from you. But if you had to say where it came from, what family member does it sound most like? Or, you know, something like that. And then you start to realize the important thing is to realize this isn't you. This was a story that was given to you. This was a program that was given to you from a young age based on the stuff you heard growing up.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So my one, when you first said that was Wimpy came to mind. And mine, and so I've got Wimpy Winifred that I wrote down, and Winifred was only because it rhymed with W, and it was, and so now I'm thinking there's
Wimpy,
this.
it's an unusual.
Yeah, it was kind of any time that I'm like scared or worried or I'm thinking I'm not good enough. That's the voice I get. Like I'm saying, oh, don't do that because you can't. You know, you're not. And now I'm like, okay, well that's just Wimpy Winifred. So this is good.
Yeah.
Kind of like separating.
And then you just tell her to shut up.
Yeah. Shut up, Winnie. Yeah, no, in fact, I don't know about Winifred, actually. That's quite a difficult name to say, but
it's not like you with the complex, keep maybe Wimpy Winnie. would be
Would-
good.
Yeah, I was
that
just
would
gonna
be
say.
easier.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
such a good word, name.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has a
Okay.
nice ring to it.
All right. I'm writing that down. Thank you all. for
Yeah,
your
and
input.
now when you talk to yourself, it's going to be so much more interesting. So
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I'm going
There's
to
that.
develop multiple personality disorder, and I'm going to
Yeah,
send you
oh.
bills for the
Yes.
psychiatrist that I'm going to have to get.
Brilliant, brilliant,
Yes, we
Mm-hmm.
on my in my one-on-one with clients, like I'll know the name of their avatar, right? And so we'll just be referring to them like they're this other person, or then we start like sort of talking about the client. We'll start talking about themselves in the third person. It gets weird, but we all know what we're doing, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
had someone suggest to me too, because I have a pen name that I write under, and she was suggesting in similar lines using the pen name as a different. Oh, I'm doing a hand. As a different. As if it was me acting on behalf of someone else, so that it would make me more able to do some of the things that I felt too shy or too scared to do, if that makes sense. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like, instead of
Yeah.
it being like this thing where you're saying Winifred is doing all the negative stuff, it's kind of another avatar that's helping you do the things that you need to get done in a way. I
Yeah.
don't know if that is it the same kind of thing, or is that something?
I think so. And I've had a lot of friends who do pen names, and they'll say similar, like, especially the ones where it's a secret pen name. There's a lot of
Mhm.
like liberation in that, because then you
Yeah.
can really just be whoever you want, and there's
Yeah.
no fear in that way.
Mhm.
But even if it's not, yeah, I think starting to think about it like an external version of you, like a persona, I think is helpful. It gives you
Mm.
some distance between you and those possibly not so nice thoughts or fears.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now I have officially 3 personalities. Good. Okay.
Yes.
I'm on my
Cool.
way.
Yes. And we've only been on here for a few minutes, so
Yeah.
think about what it will be at the end.
Yeah. Exactly.
She'll be introducing herself to someone different next week.
Yes.
Right.
Today we've got
Winifred on the call.
And then everyone will be so confused, and you're just gonna be like, if you know, you know, but if you
Yeah,
don't,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah. If you weren't there, you weren't there.
Yeah.
Look what you created, Heather.
A monster.
Well,
Um,
We'll be calling you.
So we've got the three most common
Problems.
mindset issues. So what was the next 3? You had 3 threes, I think.
I did. I
Two-
have
two
the
threes.
top 3 blocks
That's it.
that
Okay.
people have, and it's like, even people come to me and it'll sound different at first, but when it all kind of boils down to like the root of it, these are usually the 3, and a lot of people have all 3, so that's fun. So the first one is not worthy, that you don't think you're worthy, right? And so this could come up as like, you think something's wrong with you, or you make yourself special, but not in a good way, where you're like, oh, everyone else has it all together except for me, or I'm the only one this isn't going to work for, or everyone else is better than you somehow, something like that. It comes up in a lot of ways, so I'm just kind of spitballing, because all of that boils back down to not feeling worthy.
Mm.
And then not good enough and not deserving is number 2. Those are kind of similar, kind of the same thing. Not good enough comes up a lot in the author industry, where we think that we have to earn it.
Mm.
Yeah.
That goes back to the money and receiving gifts, right? If you think that you have to, if you, this belief that came with us from our childhood, if you want to make more, you just have to work harder.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
definitely out there in the author community in abundance.
Right.
Exactly. I'm
Right.
sure we've used it, you know.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
do your apprenticeship, you got to do this, you got to do that, you know. We've used it before, you know.
So how do you stop? Oh, is that in the tips?
Yeah, but no, go for it.
How do
Go
we
for it. How do you
stop
stop?
feeling not good enough or not worthy? Like, how do we
Yeah.
change that
So
mindset?
I think the first step is trying to understand sort of where it came from. And most all of these came from when we were young, because so science again, your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings about what's true for you and who you are and how the world works and how you work in the world, all those things are formed usually between the ages of like 0 and 7. So they're formed at this time because your subconscious mind is wide open. Your brain is brand new. It's not even fully formed. So you don't actually have a prefrontal cortex fully formed at this age. And that is the part of your brain that's responsible for things like logic and critical thinking and the thought filter that you would have where you hear someone else say you're stupid and you can go, that's not true, or I'm not going to believe that. You don't have that at that age. So everything that comes in, you just go, well, guess that's true for me. So if somebody says something not nice, you go, well, I guess I'm ugly. I guess I'm stupid. I guess, and then there's all the nonverbal stuff. Like we take everything personally and we make everything about us. So if we see, first of all, if we see something happening to someone else, we go, oh, that must be how the world works for me too. Mm-hmm. So that happens. And then yeah, like what didn't get said. So like my parents, I just remember for some reason, this is what sticks out in my subconscious. My parents would always just be like, oh, you're so cute. You're so pretty. And they would comment on my looks. And then they never commented on like, that I'm smart and capable and like any other like sort of traits that didn't have to do with my looks. And so as I got older, I put all my emphasis on that. And I started to later as an adult realize I didn't feel smart. I doubted like the homeschooling thing. That was a thing I had to work through, right? Because people make jokes. That's why I put the joke in the bio. I'm just going to get it out of the way. Yeah. But like people make jokes, especially back then, because homeschooling was not as mainstream. So they'd be like, oh, you're going to be the weird kid, huh? Or, or they'd just be like, joke me about how maybe like I didn't get as good of an education. Oh. And I think that, yeah, I know. Because this was like, I'm older than you think I am. So this was a while ago. And so homeschooling was not a thing. No one was doing it. And so it was just weird. And people, just had these assumptions. And so then I started thinking I wasn't smart and I brought that to my author business. And then it showed up like, I couldn't do Facebook ads. I was convinced Facebook ads would never work for me because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. Okay. So now I'm not good enough. And that's how not good enough is coming up. So that's why I said it helps if you go back to where you can realize where it came from and you realize it's been in there for a long time. It's buried in your subconscious. So it's going to take different tools to release it or reprogram it than just self-talk and affirmations. And nothing against those things, but that's what the self-help or self-development community kind of like is their go-to. And that never worked for me. And I would get so frustrated. And then I realized that's because none of those things target your subconscious mind. So there are tools that do. So first of all, if it's coming from some kind of wound from when you were a kid, like if it's deep and it's a wound, then you need to do some kind of like therapy or coaching or energy work to heal that inner child version of you, because that's why you're still carrying it, because that 6-year-old is still hurt by it. So if you can go back to her and heal that, it transforms completely. And so that's what I do mostly in coaching. That's what we do. But then there's also stuff like guided meditation and hypnotherapy. I love hypnotherapy. I am yay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What kind of hypnotherapy have you done?
So a lot. But particularly with NLP as well. So it's sort of that combo. And I went to this amazing hypnotherapist, and I had a deep fear of flying, and it's really tough when you live in New Zealand and you're probably 12 hours away from anywhere apart from Australia. So yeah, and it just it was life-changing, but it wasn't really about the flying that he helped. It was uncovering so much more. The flying was just literally the on the surface stuff. So yeah, it was incredible. It was life-changing for me. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that you realized, that was how it was. Probably it was not the root, and it was connected to probably a lot of other things.
I mean, I think the fear of flying, because it got me there, but it was way more than that. Yeah. And he was able to uncover that one. So yeah.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like these subconscious beliefs we're holding, we don't know we're holding them because you probably didn't know about the root belief until later. Right. No. And so you're walking around and they're influencing every part of your life and you don't even know. And when you can get to that, it transforms everything. And then it's like the fear of flying wasn't even the thing you had to fix. That goes away all by itself when you get to the root, you know? And that's what I tell my clients all the time. Like, the thing that you think you're coming to me for, that's going to take care of itself, because they're like, how do I stop the self-talk, the negative self-talk? And I'm like, you don't, right? We just make you start to feel good enough, worthy and deserving, and then it will just go away on its own, you know?
And I would say it's often this kind of thing, the more you delve within, it is like peeling an onion, and what you think when you think you've got one layer off, oh, surprise, there's something else there as well. So it's very much a process.
Very much. Yeah. And I will say, because I've been down this rabbit hole a long time, I have gotten to the point where I got pissed off that I wasn't done. Absolutely.
Totally get that.
It's like, I got to that next onion layer and I was like, this is bullshit. I have worked through
I'm done.
I was like, I'm sick of my own problems. Okay. I just want to be done.
Number one, learner here. Number two, and you know, all the strategic things. I'm just so tired of thinking like this. Can't I just be ignorant? You know, and like, I'm here to tell you at 57, no, you just, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, actually. So
yeah.
But you can't
I think a lot of our beliefs too come from, you know, in a family environment where you're put into like a lane. Like for me, I was always like, you're the sporty girl,
right?
You know, you're not creative. You're the sporty girl in the family. You know, and I was raised in an amazing family. Don't get me wrong, but you know, all the way through, I was like, oh well, I won't bother with that, because that's you know, I'm not the creative one like my brother and sister. You know, and of course that sort of manifests a little bit as you get older.
And now here you are in a more creative profession than either of us.
I'm fiercely competitive too, and I think that's probably from the sport.
But that's also a superpower for you in your career as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And also it helps us.
I said thank you, Shah, instead of
you're welcome. But I'm also saying from our perspective, it means that we can wind you up really well,
quite easily.
There you go. So. I say that with love, Wendy.
I know, mate. I've been there on our writing sprints when one of you will go, I've written 2,000 words, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to write 2,005.
It's awesome. We just
press that button.
That's how we roll.
What was number 3? Was number 3 not deserving? Was that number 3?
No, she hasn't done
number 3. I put good enough, not good enough, and not deserving, or kind of almost the same. So I gave them
the coin kind of thing.
Really, I just wanted to share 4, so I just made them the same thing, so I could share another one. That's what happened.
That seems perfectly reasonable.
Because 4 didn't work with 3.
It did. It was not on brand for the rest of my outline. So.
I hear you.
So number 3 is not safe.
Safe.
Nice.
That's a big one. I reckon that's a big one. Don't you think?
Yeah, well, I feel like there's 2 parts to not safe. There's not feeling safe, like in your body with yourself. You know, like physical safety, or again, the negative self-talk. If you're stuck in a body that's constantly being mean to you and saying mean things about you and your body, now you don't feel safe anymore being with yourself. So that's a problem. And then also not safe really comes up in, especially for authors, in not wanting to be seen, not wanting to be more visible. Authors who want to take their career to the next level have to work through. I've had to work through this at basically every single level. I have 6- and 7-figure authors working through this, because you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable here, where I have to worry about like haters and bad reviews and bullying and stuff like that at this level. But if I sell twice as many books, now I'm going to have twice as much of a threat, you know, for safety.
I can see how that thinking
and that is hard when you start to rise a little bit, and with the emails coming in and you just open them thinking they're from someone nice, and it's absolute verbal you know, horrible, and you think, oh, whoops, what do I do now, you know, like
whoops.
Shouldn't open that one.
I don't know if I'm like opening myself up, if people are going to hear this and be like, send her a nasty gram, but I don't get those.
No, neither do I.
I don't get those. And
you don't get them?
No.
Like physically, you don't understand them, or you don't get them in your
No, it doesn't happen to me.
Oh, right.
Because I'm not a match to that.
Yeah. Whereas Wendy's got a secret fear of having them come in, and therefore they come in.
So this is what I was going to say is when I say not a match to that, like what, if you're going to subscribe to law of attraction and you're always attracting to what you are a match to, it's the same as when somebody says something mean, anything mean, and it actually makes you feel bad, is because you're afraid it's true. And if you do have that fear in you and you are afraid it's true, then you are more susceptible to hearing it more often because it's matching something inside of you. Versus, if like I called you up, or if a stranger called you up on the phone and said, I hate you, I think you're stupid, I'm never going to call you again. You'd be like, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
You don't care.
Excellent.
Yeah. Appreciate you letting me know.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah. But if somebody you care about calls you up and says that, it's going to hurt, right? So you have this emotional attachment to that. So if there's something in you that resonates with it, then it's more likely of an experience. I won't say that. I'm not trying to sound like toot my own horn. Like, watch, I'm probably going to get one tomorrow, but I
do think you there's the other angle of that is like what you're worrying about getting in terms of the emails, or what you have on your mind, you see more of. It's like when, like, and this is a really silly
I don't worry
example.
about them.
Well, but like when you buy a new car, and then you've never noticed that brand of car on the roads before, and then suddenly all you can see is that exact same car that you bought, and you get really annoyed because you thought that you were buying a really unique car, that kind of thing. So it's like as soon as it becomes something that you're thinking about or a front of mind, you suddenly see it everywhere.
Yeah, that's one, because, and that's actually part of the science too. There's a part of your brain that filters in the things that it thinks is important to you. So when you buy a new car, it knows all of a sudden this car is important to you. You have a heavy focus on it, so it will start bringing you other same cars. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, and that's what its job is, to filter out the bajillion things that we see, hear, and experience all day, every day. It would overwhelm you, all of it, right? It's just sensory overload. So it goes for just what it thinks you think is important.
And so if you're thinking about, and in the context of authors, then if you're always thinking about how no one ever makes any money and it's all a con, and those people who talk about making money as self-published authors are all liars, then you're going to find that. Versus if you're someone who believes that there can be success and it's an amazing thing, and you're whatever, like all the good things, then that's what you see and find, because that's what your brain is
absolutely
thinking about.
Absolutely. Like think about it in terms of politics, right? Like how we're always in this big argument on everyone's on their own side, and you're not really changing anyone's mind. And that's because whatever you believe to be true, your brain is going to find proof to help support you, because it wants you to feel like you're right. So that's its job. It's going to go find that. And so each side are able to go find proof that they're right.
It's called like confirmation bias, isn't it? It's like when you believe something already, you're just gonna find the stuff that
and
confirms.
then so how it would kind of come back into what we were saying with the reviews is if you believe that, well, part of being an author is just having to get these emails and it's just part of doing business, then it's probably more likely to happen to you because you believe that it's just part of doing business. What if you didn't? What if you didn't believe? Like, where did that come from? Did you decide that, or did someone give you that belief?
It's true.
Listen to the silence while we all go,
What else are we thinking?
Who did that?
Yeah. I'm still working on the voice in my head. I can't think of one, and I can't think of the voice.
Yeah, you're not worried about what other people are thinking. You're worried about what you're thinking. Exactly. I'm really intrigued by the idea of like, and I don't know if you can talk more on this, but the idea that when someone says something mean and we're like hurt by it and we get up in arms on it, it's actually literally because we're secretly scared that it's true. Like it's, how do you, like, is that, like, could you say anytime that happens, anytime we get up in arms over something, it's along those lines? Like it's...
Well, I mean, the human brain is complex. I don't know if I would say every single time, because I'm sure I'm also a gray area person. My belief system is that there is an exception to every rule. So I'm sure there probably is one. Like maybe instead it's really about a belief that you don't deserve kindness. So that's why people say mean things. It's not because that specific thing is true. Do you know what I mean? It's like maybe it's more complicated than that. But it's in the vicinity of that. Yeah.
So we should, that's cool. I'm the kind of person who gets myself all up in arms over stuff, and I'm like, oh damn it, I'm gonna have to look and see what they're.
Are you trying to find a loophole right now? Is that what this is?
Maybe.
You're like asking for a friend.
Oh, I just know someone who does this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And for me, the not safe thing really resonates along with all the others, So that's because when we hear not safe to me initially was when I was talking about it was like not physically safe, that someone's going to harm you somehow, but it's not even, does our brain think that we're going to be somehow harmed? Is it that serious in our brain, or is
well, your brain is dramatic. Okay, first of all, dramatic AF. So if it is an emotional threat, your brain still treats it like a physical threat. So I'm actually learning this also for myself right now. I'm doing that group that I had mentioned to you guys earlier that I'm doing, and it's based out of Australia, is a group for like, I guess weight loss, but it's mostly about like how to get back in alignment with your body, right? And then weight loss is kind of like one of the side benefits. Like it's not a root, and so we're talking about this from this angle of one of the reasons why we would hold on to weight would be because we don't feel safe, and we're using this padding as to keep us something between us and the world, us and the threat. And that threat could be emotional even. And we would still, our brain would still translate that into physical and hold on to weight it doesn't need just for that reason. So yeah, definitely it could be not just physical safety, and it could manifest in that way.
That's really interesting. 100%. And you even see like teenagers with their hair down over their eyes and protecting their face, like there's all these physical manifestations of like maybe an inner turmoil or
or just that wall, right, of like don't I'm not approachable,
or I just want to fit in.
Be like every other teenager with the hair over their face.
Exactly.
Or not being seen, like like I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be picked out of the crowd, I want to blend in.
I mean, no one likes to stand out, well, some people do, but
I like to stand out.
Well, I don't know, I have authors coming to me like, well, I want to be number one, and that's standing out.
We all want
that. But at the same time, they're holding a belief of I don't want to stand out, and I'm like, well, that's your
don't want to stand
the work does itself at this point,
Wendy, you hear that?
Darn it.
I stand out when I need to.
That's what I believe.
I've always said that weight loss is not a willpower or a calorie counting issue, it's a mindset issue. I firmly believe that. So it's interesting that you say that.
Yes, I absolutely believe that. And I just felt like I'd gotten to the end of the tools I had for myself, and I knew, we all have a blind spot of ourselves. That's why we can give advice to all of our friends. Like we're pros and then we're a mess, right? So I also go seek out other coaches and teachers and stuff. And I also believe in the power of hypnotherapy. And I specifically tried to search out something that involves hypnotherapy, because you're right, Trudy, it's about reprogramming my brain with whatever is keeping me sort of stuck feeling in where I am now and how I feel about my body, which is the not safe in all the ways, right? And maybe not worthy in terms of like how I think of my body. I've done a lot of worthiness in the rest of my life and how I see myself as like my identity, right? That non-tangible part of me. But then I realized recently, wow, I don't think I ever extended all that work to include my body, my physical body. So now I got to go back and do that. So
fascinating.
Amazing. Great insights.
I'm really curious now.
We've got a lot. You've given us so much to think about. My head's spinning.
So we did have some tips. Is it something that we can go through quickly, because we are coming up to the end of our time together? So let's whip through them so that people can have some things to go away and work on, I think was the idea.
That would be good.
So the couple things we already talked about, which is like guided meditations and hypnotherapies, these are things that are designed to help relax you to the point where your conscious mind lets its guard down, and then you are more suggestible, and so that's how you get things into your subconscious, and that's how you begin to change your beliefs and the way you think. So those are my favorite tools.
Do you have any that you recommend?
So I have one. that I made,
Yeah.
that if you go to my website, which is Manifest Your HEA, as in
Yes.
happily ever
I was
after.
going to say that to you, though. I really love your I will help you. I lost the sheet, but what's your tagline? I will help you create your own HEA.
Get unstuck and finally create your own happily ever after.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, what is it? I don't remember. I think that's it. But if you go to my website, manifestyourhea.com, there's a place on that page where you can sign up and for my email list, and you'll get a free guided meditation. And this meditation is specifically about nervous system regulation, which we didn't really talk a lot about. But this is like the other component to mindset work that I don't really see anyone talking about, that is kind of like my jam. Because all the mindset work I did only took me so far until I started incorporating my nervous system. Because your nervous system is where, if you're stuck in stress mode, if you've been in stress and fear for like a long time, it disrupts your nervous system permanently. And then no matter how much you try to change your thoughts, you're still like tense in your body all the time. And that's affecting everything. So you have to kind of do both. You have to do the mindset work and you have to do the body, physical body work. So the hypno or the meditation that I have for you, it specifically targets your nervous system, basically, so you can chill out. You need to chill out first.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
step one.
That's awesome.
So those are my favorite tools. And then, we talked about naming your avatar for your voice in your head and just starting to tell that person to shut up. That's a great place to start because you become more self-aware about how you're talking to yourself. And then the last kind of tip, this is something we do in coaching a lot too, that I give for homework, is it's called the evidence list. I remember Trudy was talking about like when you buy a new car, then you see it everywhere. So your brain will find evidence to support whatever you decide you want to be true. If we know that, let's use this superpower for good for once. Let's use it deliberately for once, right? And so decide what you want to be true. Decide, I want to see that money comes into my life constantly. Or decide that I want to see that new readers are always finding my books. Whatever it is, right? And then every single day you have to write down one thing. This is called an evidence list. And you have to write down one piece of evidence every single day to support this new truth or new belief. And it's so amazing that once you decide this is what you want to see, your brain will find it. Like it's already happening. You're like, did it just start today? Or has this already been happening this whole time and I just haven't noticed? And that's kind of mind blowing.
That's awesome. I love that one. I'm totally doing that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I do. I hope that it's more people will suddenly find me, but you never know. Maybe they always were. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Either
way is a good outcome, right?
Yeah.
It's a great tip.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm.
Oh, thank you so much. I know that we've all gotten something to think about here today.
Absolutely.
That's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. We've really loved it.
You guys, this is fun. You guys are fun.
We'll have to have you back on because I'm sure there's another.
We need another round of Heather.
We need another round of Heather.
All right, we'll let all this sink in.
Okay. We'll come back to you next time. Yeah, with even wider eyes.
You'll all have different names and
different avatars. We'll be like, money will just be whoa.
Yes.
Funny. So if someone wants to find you, Heather, where's the best place to go? Is it the Manifest Your HEA?
You can look me up on my website, Manifest Your HEA, and then I also have a Facebook group with the same name where I post all kinds of stuff, just like what we talked about today, pretty regularly. And I also will post stuff through my email list or my Facebook group whenever I do like small group masterminds where I work a little bit more closely. I do one-on-one coaching. I'm pretty waitlisted for a little while with that. So you're welcome to reach out about it, but it might be a little bit of a wait. So the Facebook group and the email list are great places to start.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This has been great. I appreciate it.
That's okay. Now, where can we be found?
We can be found at spargirlspodcast.com, and we really appreciate you leaving reviews, whether it's on your favorite podcast app or giving us a lovely subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is growing well because we are manifesting 5,000 subscribers this year.
You certainly are.
Halfway there, just saying, or almost halfway there. So that's awesome.
Gosh, that's gone fast. It's like it hits a certain thing and then it just kind of snowballs. Awesome. Well, thank you all for listening to another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We love having you here with us every week. That's it for now, but we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.